Hello, amazing entrepreneur. It's Tash Corbin here, and welcome to another episode of the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. This is episode number 298, which means you can find all the relevant links and show notes for today's episode over at tashcorbin.com/298. In today's episode, I'm answering the question, how do I reach my ideal clients online? It might seem like a really straightforward question, but the answer is layered and complex. So we are going to unpack this in today's episode so you have clarity on how you can best reach your ideal clients online. Sound good? Let's dive in. I'm Tash Corbin, and this is the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. There are so many options for how you can reach your ideal clients online. Because of that, there are also 11 billion opinions about what will work best for you. There are people who say you must be on TikTok, you must be doing Instagram Reels, you must be on Facebook, you must be in groups, you must have your own group, you must build a mailing list, you must use paid advertising, you must do guest posting. There are so many people out there that tell you they have the one thing you must be doing in order to reach your ideal clients online. But here's the thing, generally, any of these strategies will work. But if you half do everything, you will nail and get results from nothing. The number one thing you need to do when it comes to reaching your ideal clients online is focus. You need to focus down on a specific niche. You need to focus on your primary channel. You need to focus on consistently being in front of your audience over and over again. You need to focus your messaging down to something that's of value to your audience. There is so much out there that's trying to drag you away from being focused. There's so much advice that tells you, well, maybe the problem is you're on the wrong channel. Maybe the problem is that you have the wrong niche. Maybe the problem is that you haven't got the right messaging. Maybe the problem is you're not high ticket enough. Maybe the problem is that you don't have a low ticket offer. Maybe the problem is you're not recruiting people to your mailing list. So all of these things are designed to get you into a frenzy thinking that what you need is another strategy, when actually, in reality, most online business owners are already doing more than enough to reach their ideal clients. It's just that they're not doing enough focused energy and attention on one of their strategies. That's the big challenge. The big challenge is not being in all places at all times speaking to all people. The challenge is making the commitment to focus down on your niche, your channel, your strategy, your messaging, your consistency. So I have 4 things that I want to talk to you about today to help you get that focus and reach more of your ideal clients online. Number 1, let's talk channels. I understand that there are a lot of different spaces where you could be showing up online right now. And I also understand that different algorithms are favored differently throughout time. So whilst your Facebook page reach may have gone down for a little while and you were getting easier reach by doing Reels on Instagram, doesn't necessarily mean that you should stop your Facebook strategy and move over to Instagram. We have seen the comings and goings of multiple platforms over the years, and there are certain platforms that have the most users, that have the most consistency, that have the easiest structures. There are certain channels that have stood the test of time and will continue to stand the test of time regardless of the fear-based strategies and the fear-mongering that's going on out there in the online business world right now. So whilst I understand that there are some shiny objects that you might want to be playing with in terms of channels, maybe it's TikTok, maybe it's Clubhouse, maybe it's some of the circle type things, maybe it's Mighty Networks. I understand that there are all of these new things, and some of them aren't that new, but there's always going to be someone that's trying to drag users away from Facebook, from Instagram, from LinkedIn. Those 3 channels have been the foundational channels for quite a while. Not only that, they've been established for so long that there's a lot of opportunity with those channels for you to be able to tap into existing networks, existing understanding of those audiences, existing behavioral patterns that people have as well. So what I generally recommend is that you choose one of those three as your core channel: Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. In most cases, it's going to be Facebook or Instagram if you are working in a person-to-person model and your ideal client is not actively seeking new employment. If your ideal client is seeking new employment, LinkedIn may be a better space for you, depending on the service that you offer and the type of person that you are trying to reach in terms of what types of roles they're looking for. But ultimately, if you haven't got a Facebook page that you've got the strategy nailed, or if you haven't got an Instagram profile where you've got the strategy nailed, then chances are you need to work on that as your foundational step first. Now, I understand that you can get really good reach on TikTok at the moment. You can get really good reach on other platforms at the moment, but those platforms aren't necessarily proven as being scalable, repeatable, income generating platforms for service businesses. So if you are in the business of selling services, online courses, high-end products, services, those sorts of things, then chances are you are going to be better off focusing your energy and attention, even if it's just for the next 6 months, but really getting it nailed on one of the big three: Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Number 2, there are 3 ways to grow an audience on social media. 1, build the audience organically. 2, borrow the audience from someone else. 3, buy the audience with advertising. Those are the 3 ways you can reach your ideal clients online. Yes, in terms of building an organic audience, there are things you can do under that in terms of tactics and actions, but at its core, there are 3 major strategies: build, borrow, and buy. When you're in startup, and if you have a low budget, I recommend you start by building and borrowing. When you become more well-known and you have more consistent income coming in, you have more budget to be able to market, you add buy to the mix. Most people think that they can get away from having to do organic audience building by buying their audience, i.e. investing in ads. But the more you get all 3 of those things working together in a cohesive strategy, the cheaper the buy part becomes, the more effective the borrow part becomes, and the more that your organic reach is continually nurtured, and you can rely on organic reach as a core part of your marketing strategy. So have a think about where you're at in your business journey right now, and are you effectively building your organic audience, borrowing other people's audiences, and or buying your audience through paid advertising. In order to build your organic audience online, you need to understand what works in terms of reach and engagement, be consistent with what it is that you're sharing on social media, and get your content in front of as many of your ideal clients organically as possible. Now, if you just focus on organic building and you don't borrow or buy, that is going to be the slow, very slowly building up snowball approach to growing your audience. It is a legitimate strategy for building your audience. However, even with 0 marketing budget, you can use borrow strategies to fast track that process. So one of the things I did when I first started my business was I started an interview series where I was platforming other people in my industry who also served my ideal clients, but with complementary or slightly different services. And I would invite them onto my video series and share the interview with them on my YouTube channel, on my social channels, with my mailing list. And often the interviewee would also share the interview with their audiences. And so their audience became connected into my audience, and it grew my organic reach. Additionally, I was in Facebook communities that had been built by other people where I was allowed to promote my products and services, give advice, share my content. And through that, I was able to borrow their group audience to grow my own audience. And I now create that opportunity for other people as well with the Heart-Centered Soul-Driven Entrepreneurs Facebook group. Not only that, when people actively participate in my live free events such as 5-day challenges, CEO week, webinars that I run, I also allow people to borrow from my audience at that point in time as well by creating opportunities for people to get in front of my audience. So I'm providing those opportunities for others as a part of almost like that reciprocal relationship, because I was able to borrow so many people's audiences myself, not by waiting to be selected and chosen to be on other people's podcasts, but by creating an interview series of my own and platforming other people who had audiences that I might be able to borrow some of their members from. So think about your strategies. It's not just organic stuff or pay to play. There's so many ways that you can create a snowball of growth by bridging the gap between build, borrow, and then looking to buy your audience. Tip number 3 is that engagement always equals reach. That is the hard and fast rule of social media. The more engagement you have on social media, the more of your audience you will be able to reach. So you should be paying very close attention to what gets great engagement with your audience, what other people are doing to build engagement with their audience, and experimenting and playing with strategies so you can refine your strategy down to some key things that you know will work for you. Remember, the number one driver of reach is engagement. So if you are not actively looking for good strategy to grow your engagement on social media, chances are you're not reaching the potential audience that you could be reaching if you were to take on that focus. And then tip number 4, consistency beats flash and crash every single time. There are so many people who have abandoned their Facebook pages because at some point in time they decided Facebook organic reach was dead and it's never going to come back. And so they abandoned their Facebook page. They stopped posting on it consistently. Now that Facebook is preferencing organic reach for Facebook pages again, if you haven't seen the algorithm update, it is amazing. Reach is going sky high for business pages at the moment. Those pages that abandoned their audience for an extended period of time are not seeing the same benefits as those of us who continue to stay consistent with showing up and engaging with our audiences. So your number one driver, no matter which strategy you use, no matter what your reach ecosystem might look like, is to ensure that you are able to maintain your consistency with that audience. So many people get almost there to that tipping point with this strategy and then they give it up, and then they sort of get there and then they give it up, and then they get sort of here and they give it up. If they had just stuck with their first strategy and nailed that consistently month after month after month, they would be far further ahead in relation to their audience size and the reach that they were able to achieve on social media, simply by sticking with the strategy. And instead of saying, is this the right strategy or isn't this the right strategy, just asking the question, how do I make this strategy work and how do I ensure I'm consistent with it? It doesn't matter what the strategy is. At the end of the day, if you are consistently looking for how to make it work more effectively and you're consistently implementing, you will see audience growth and reach growth. Your fear of missing out on reach from that new shiny platform or that new shiny strategy is actually stopping you from achieving that exact same result with the strategies you already have in front of you. So hopefully this has been really helpful for you in getting you focused and sticking with your strategy to reach your ideal clients online. Now, one of the big butt tashes that I get when I talk about social media reach and consistent organic growth and sticking with the big 3 social media channels is people say, but I don't own that audience. What if Facebook disappears? What if Instagram disappears? What if all of a sudden I lose my access to my audience on social media? Well, lucky for you, I'm looking after the long-term sustainability of your audience and your long-term reach as well, I have a new free training for you. It's called Grow Your Audience. And in this training, I help you to understand which audiences are the most important and how to build audiences that are an asset to your business that no one can take away from you, including growing your mailing list. You can find the link to the Grow Your Audience training with the show notes of today's episode over at tashcorbin.com/298. As always, thank you so much for being here for this episode of the Heart Centered Business Podcast. I've been Tash Corbin. You've been a fabulous listener. And until next time, I cannot wait to see you shine. Bye for now. Would you like more tips, tools, and resources to help you grow your heart-centered business? Head to tashcorbin.com today.